Hello, welcome, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here today. Just to let you guys know, the Jaybefaunt channel is available on... Why does my camera look different? Does my camera look a little bit different? Anywho, the Jaybefaunt channel is available on all major podcast platforms, so go ahead and subscribe to me there. Also part of the Revolutionary Blackout Network, so you can see me on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, as well as you can always catch me on this channel on Tuesdays at 2. Also, if you would like to, you can also subscribe to my Substack. You guys can go to jaybefaunt.substack.com so that you guys are aware and made alert to every single time I go live or I have clips uploaded. So thank you so very much for that. Also, just to let you guys know, if you guys would like to support the channel, you guys can also become patrons on Patreon, Coffee, or any or you guys can become members. I also do have memberships. So thank you so much to the patrons on Patreon and Coffee. And just to let you guys know, I do also have different levels as far as the memberships on Patreon is concerned. And I will give you guys that look right here as soon as my computer actually catches up with me, because for some reason it's going a little bit slow. Internet problems happen all the time. And sometimes this is why we need things like municipal broadband, because municipal broadband will actually make sure that things actually run more faster and more efficiently. But unfortunately, it does not happen that way. But lest we press on. So just to let you guys know, we also have... Come on, work. Do it. Okay. So we also have different memberships. We have Solidarity. We have Comrade, Jaybefaunters, Super Jaybefaunters, and Super Duper Jaybefaunters. So thank you so very much to anybody who gets becomes a patron as well on Patreon as well. And in addition to, and furthermore, I would like to also give a shout out to new patron. I think it's Leah or Laya Neely. Thank you so very much. Clap it up for Miss Lee. Oh, I don't want to assume gender. Clap it up for Laya Neely. Thank you so very much for becoming a patron on Patreon. Thank you so very much. And if you guys have not already, if you guys already like me, go ahead and give me a like. If you guys don't like me, thumbs down. If you guys don't, if you're hate watching, then, it happens, but good to have you watching anyway. So thank you so very much as well. As usual, whenever I do go live, I also like to say hello to all my patrons, my viewers, and my friends and comrades who are also in the chat. So I just wanted to give my hellos to all of you. So we're going to be starting off right at the top with Serena. Serena got some words. Serena says, "Greetings, comrades. Happy to see Rome Death to America is doing so well. Also, happy to hear some good news coming out of Florida. Seems quite rare nowadays for anything positive coming out of Florida or Texas." Yeah, that's true. And the thing is that when it comes to Florida or Texas, it's always like, oh, them again. It's almost like that part in the Harry Potter movie. Look, I only seen the first one, I think, and I haven't really watched it before. So there's this part, I think, when one of the top people in the school, probably the principal or headmistress or whatever her name is, she's like, every single time something happens, I see you three, and it's typically Florida, Texas, and what's the third? What's the third one? Probably Alabama is one of those three, but they're always troublemakers nationwide. Anywho, thank you so very much, Serena. All right. We have Miguel coming in saying, peace. Good to see you, Miguel. All right. We have Gamer for Life coming in. Happy birthday to Hey, everybody. Give a shout out and a happy birthday to Gamer. Gamer turns 30. You 35? What? I'm older than Gamer. Yep, I'm older than Gamer. Good to see you. All right. John H says, app commercials. App commercials? Wait, those commercials? For me? Interesting. All right, we have Matthew Fillingham. Trippy. Good to see you, Matthew. All right. John says, what's happening, my comrades and brothers and sisters from other mothers and misters? All right, good to see you. Soul Construct is coming in saying, good afternoon, fams. Good to see you in here. Zombie in the air saying, happy birthday, Gamer. Roger Meadows is coming in saying, I just found out MLK had a sister who died 2 months ago, and his brother was murdered a year after his assassination. Yeah, I heard about his mother being murdered. His brother being murdered right after his assassination. Said found dead at the bottom of a swimming pool. Already knew about his mother's assassination in 1974. Yeah, so his mom and his brother were both assassinated, which is a lot of people really don't realize. It's crazy. And a lot of times, family members, they have a lot of questions, and they can get deep when it comes to investigating, murders of their family members. So they might have found some stuff out that we shouldn't have known. Just saying. Excuse me. Now, Sean Miller saying happy birthday to Gamer. Everybody's giving their happy birthdays out to Gamer. That is one of our regular people who's always in here spreading the love. What was that song? Cherish the love we had. Cherish the love we give. Cherish the love. Cherish the. Look, Roger probably already has the name of the group in his head, already typing it right now. Already, I know. Colin coming in saying solidarity from Albany, New York. Good to see you, Colin, in the chat. Ravina says happy birthday, Gamer. Good to see you, Ravina. Also, I'm just laughing about the song. Wadi says, hey, everybody. Good to see you, Wadi. What in the world? My lips are chapped. Like, you remember, whatchamacallit? On Chappelle's show, Ashy Larry. That's how my lips feel right now. They feel like Ashy Larry. Like I'm gonna blow some powdered sugar, some powder. All right. Oh, that was cool in the gang, for real. Roger Meadows coming in with the assist. He said that's cool in the gang. Okay, thank you so very much. Yep. Okay, thank you so much, Soul Construct. Thank you. All right. And then Bryce Smith coming up with the last one saying, what's up, JB and everyone? All right. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And anybody that's on the Rockfin, on the Rumble side, and the Twitch side, and the Twitter side. All right. So what I'm going to be talking about today is a couple of news stories. Most of the stories are actually going to be good news. So be prepared, everybody, because this is actually going to be, for the most part, a happy stream. And that's what we're doing. News, but happy news. So one of the things that I'm going to share with you guys is that beautiful, beautiful thumbnail. Roll that beautiful beam footage. All right. So four topics today. Rent control at risk. Why is Judge Alito and Clarence Thomas in front of those apartments for rent and talking about rent control? This is going to be something that we're going to be talking about. And I'm going to tell you right now, a third of this country should be out in the streets at least a third of this country. It should be millions of us out in the street over something like this. But we got to talk about this. We'll get onto it. Then also stunning success. Stunning success. What does this mean for Rome of Revolutionary Blackout Network and Right Brain TV Studios? What does this mean? And we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to be talking also about great news out of Central Florida. This is great news. You guys see the thumbnail. You guys already know what time it is. And then we're going to be talking about as well my highlights from the RBN Orlando Chapter meet and greet this over the weekend. I have some great news and some highlights to share with you guys as well. So first, one of the things I want to talk about is the highlights at the RBN Orlando Chapter. So if you guys didn't know, as far, you guys have been seeing me post this, showing that I was organizing for the Orlando Chapter, that we will be having a meet and greet, which was this Saturday just passed. We did have that meet and greet, and we got to actually talk to a couple people who are RBN watchers, as well as people who just want to do for their community. And so it was not only a pleasure to meet them, but it was a privilege to meet them as well. And the reason being is because it was amazing, because not only were they brilliant and knowledgeable, but you could see their heart and how much they cared about the community. We actually took a selfie. I tried to record it, but my camera and I thought I recorded at least like a half, but at the same time, the highlights were great. And so let me just share with you guys the picture that we took. And I shared this on Twitter as well, because, and I asked them their permission first before I could share it on social media. But we met, and some of the things that we talked about was what we would like to do for our community. We talked about the things that we would like to do for the community as far as the most disenfranchised. And some of the things that we also discussed were who we wanted to organize with. And that who basically meant anybody that was trying to do anything for their community, period. But at the same time, I think one of the things that we also expressed was, as long as you're respectful to people who have different beliefs, and if those beliefs didn't interfere with the liberation of marginalized groups. So that's what some of the things that we brought up. And it was beautiful because we were all in agreement. And one of the things that I wanted to stress was that this was not a top-down chapter, meaning that everything had to be democratic and had to be a consensus among all of us to what actions we did, where in the community, how we did it. And so, because ultimately, as a communist, I graduated from calling myself a socialist. Now I call myself a communist. Is that it's about the democratic process. Because if I don't like what's going on, but I don't have a say, then what good is it? I feel like an employee, and I don't want to feel like that. So that's what we did. It was amazing, and I am so grateful. What we're going to be doing is we actually also planned our first action. So our first action will be in about a month. It'll be, in about 30 days. So we're going to be handing out care packages to the homeless within the city of Orlando area. This is going to be taking place on September 23rd, which is a Saturday. And if any of you guys would like to, you guys could actually join in and come, join in at some of the locations that we'll be at and help hand out care packages and also discuss why people are going through what they're going through. This isn't just a handing things out. It's also letting people know that, number one, it's not your fault that you're homeless. See, this is something I don't think a lot of people hear. And this needs to be pushed out to people. Number one, it is not your fault. You cannot blame your individual self on a systemic issue. And so we're also letting them know it's not their fault that they don't have health care. It's not their fault that they weren't able to get further their education, because you have these price barriers. It's paywalled to further your education. And so there's so many different things that we're going to also be doing while we're out there as well. So what we're going to be doing is for our houseless neighbors, we actually have a fundraiser going on, and the goal is $750. We're trying to do that by Labor Day. Is it Labor Day or Memorial Day? I forget these holidays, but by the 4th, which is the first Monday in September. So if you guys would like to, you guys can go donate. The only one I have right now is via Cash App. You guys can go to $Orlando RBN if you guys would like to. So that's what I have. And we're working on raising the money for that. Now, I also have the Cash App link. Let me see. Oh, I'll do it this way. So I also have the link as well, which is also in the description, but it's also going to be put into the chats if you guys would like to donate as well. And I talked about this on RBN on Sunday, and it was well received. I am very proud. And as far as you guys, just to let you guys know, CJ already started his. Rome has been doing his for the last 2 years with Tour for the Poor. So that's basically an RBN chapter in itself. That's basically how it birthed ours. And then you also have, so CJ, Rome, Nick is starting his. He's going to be doing school supplies for students in St. Louis. So he's raising money for that. And then just past, Sabi already did hers in Boston. So yeah, so we're doing the damn thing. We're doing as much as we can for our communities, but hopefully this inspires all of you to also get out there and do more for your communities as well. And so, yeah, I'm excited, and I hope, many of you who are in the Orlando area can help us out, maybe join. And if you guys don't want to join, that's fine. But if you guys want to come out and help us, many hands make the load light. We're also going to be doing classes, whether it be cooking classes. We're going to be doing classes on how to do ballot initiatives, which is something that I want to learn. Shout out to Roger Meadows for that. We're also want to do classes on how to apply for Medicaid, how to apply for food stamps, how to apply for Social Security, things like that. And maybe even teach a little Marxism, in there too. So we're going to be doing, all that just so that we can uplift the community from the ground up, because we all know that politicians, they don't do anything for us. And even if they do, they're crumbs. And so we can do more for ourselves than what they can do for us. So thank you so much for indulging me, everybody, on this. I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. So let me go to the chat really quick before I move on to my primary story, actually. Say, McResister says, everyone help out Jay or I'll force you to listen to Biden's speech. Sorry, guys. I don't know what the hell is in this tea, but this tea is releasing some stuff. Lord, but this is some good stuff. Thank you so very much, Zombie in the Air, as well. Serena says, I got a lawyer from my provider saying my Medicaid and supplemental security income was about to expire. What? Says I called them and they have no clue what that was about. Got me stressed over nothing. Oh, gosh. Yeah. And this is something, in fact, if you guys have not, on RBN, I spoke with Michelle Mashburn. She is a disability rights activist. And we were talking about just the troubles over the last summit. We were talking about just the troubles of applying for disability. And so this is something that I think that is deeply needed, is helping people when it comes to applying for things like disability or Medicare or Medicaid or, or applying for food stamps. Because the thing is that it's placed behind this wall of applications and paperwork that you have to do, which also can be daunting for many people, especially those of us who are on the low income or poor class of people that is inside this country. Thank you so much. McResister says, sorry, I know that was a horrible it was a funny one. But yeah. And yes, Serena says the system is purposely designed to be incompetent. Absolutely, I agree. And it's not really an agreement of opinion. It's an agreement of fact because they make that like that on purpose. Now, the next thing that we will be talking about as well is rent control at risk. So this is going to be our primary story that I wanted to discuss. This is something that I think that everybody really, really needs to pay attention to. Now, rent control. The name speaks for itself, right? Everybody knows what rent control is. It basically means that landlords cannot charge rent above a certain amount year over year so that it doesn't price out people of varying incomes, particularly low income people, right? There are certain states that have rent controls in place for people who are lower income. Some states do not. States like mine in Florida, it's basically illegal to rent control. Essentially illegal. So, yes, feel sorry for me. Become a patron on my Patreon because it's rough out here. But yes, as far as that's concerned, it is, it's horrible. Well, I'll get to the necessity of landlords in a second. You guys already know where I stand on that. But as far as rent control, it is definitely at risk. So I am going to share. I think that's why. Where's that up? Get down. Okay. Let me share this article first, because this is absolutely asinine. So this has to do this. I'm telling you guys, this is going to be, it's kind of scary. It's kind of spooky. But this is why we need to get out in the streets, basically. It says landlords are pushing the Supreme Court to end rent control. Let's get into it. It says 2 landlord lobbying groups are petitioning the Supreme Court to overturn New York City's rent stabilization law, which would allow further countrywide challenges to rent control. Real estate billionaires friendly with the court justices are backing the move. So this reminds me of a story that I talked about a few months ago that some of you guys may remember. And I'll also share that with you too, because it goes in line with this. So it says, as the national housing crisis deepens, corporate lobbyists and conservative groups with ties to 2 Supreme Court justices, billionaire benefactors, are pushing the court to let landlords hike rents. That's right. So now they're trying to make it so that they can hike rents nationwide. Look, nationwide ain't on your side. Let me tell you right now, this is exactly what they're trying to do, because they really do not want anybody to be able to afford rent. Well, okay. Yeah, they don't want you to afford rent. They want you to afford rent, but they don't want you to afford rent. They basically want you to be able to barely afford rent because they want all that money to themselves. So this is what's going on in this nation. It continues. It says, at issue is the petition from 2 landlord lobbying groups asking the High Court to overturn New York City's rent stabilization law, which has been on the books since 1969 and limits annual rent increases for more than 1 million units in the city, nearly half of all rentals. Now, this is talking about what's going on in New York City, but this is going to be a larger issue nationwide, because as the saying goes, so goes New York, so goes the rest of the country. It is also the same thing as, for instance, California. So goes California, so goes the rest of the country. So goes Massachusetts, so goes the rest of the country. And so a lot of times that's actually how it happens, is that it starts more statewide and then it expands, because if they can actually argue that in their eyes that rent control is unconstitutional, then guess what? Then other states who their governors and their state houses and their state senates, who are owned and in the pockets of the landlords or the real estate industrial complex, those who are in their pockets, then they will be more sympathetic to them. And then they will see this and go, oh, snap, it's popping in New York because they were able to get rid of this. So we can get rid of this in our state. So therefore, we can actually make more profit. And so this can go nationwide. This can harm so many millions of Americans, particularly a whole third of us. This will affect not just adults, but it's going to affect our children too. Because if we don't have enough money to pay our rent, then that's going to increase the homelessness in this country. And it's already bad as it is. I say one homeless person in this country is too many. And we have technically over 500,000. I say technically because people aren't counting about the people who are sleeping in hotels and motels, the people who are sleeping on couches and having to double up in families. And so this is why this is such a major issue. All right, let's continue. It says Sam Stein, a housing policy analyst at the Community Service Society, an anti-poverty organization in New York, said that if the Supreme Court were to overturn the rent stabilization law, it is the end of New York City. Just pausing for effect. It says rents will go up significantly around the city. There will be a tremendous amount of displacement. You'll have a lot of people leaving New York City. You'll have a lot of homelessness. You'll have a lot of overcrowding. A high court ruling wouldn't just reshape New York. but would also pave the way for legal challenges to the dozens of rent control laws that exist around the country, and many more currently being considered. For example, in 2024, Californians will vote on a ballot measure to repeal the state's ban on rent control. Those of you out in California, pay attention. Pay attention, because the thing is that, and I understand, a lot of us look at voting and we see voting as just like, what's the point? And even if you feel that way, go just to vote on the ballot measures. You can leave everything else blank if you want, but vote on the ballot measures, right? Because sometimes it's not necessarily to vote in a system that you know is not going to benefit you. We all know that a lot of these politicians aren't going to benefit you. But when it comes to the ballot initiatives, sometimes voting on these things is a way to mitigate the damage to the poor and working people. So this is the point. So sometimes it is best to just go to the polls, skip the politicians, go to the ballot measures, and also research the ballot measures in your state so that you know what's coming up, so that you're not in a rush to research and go, oh my God, which one's going to be. Look at it now, right? Look at it now. See what's coming up in 2024 so that you know, okay, this is what they're trying to do. Am I going to vote yes or no on this? What are the details and why I should vote yes or no? Because sometimes they'll make these things more complex than what they really are. And so if you're in California, just know rent control is on the line in your state. So make sure to keep that in mind, all right? Because the thing is that they are, all the rich people out there in California are trying to get rid of it. They don't like that. A bunch of Reaganites trying to go, oh, well, it's really hurting my bottom line. Tell the landlord to shut the fuck up. When you talk about their bottom line, they shouldn't even give them a bottom line. Anywho, so that's the thing. Be sure to be aware of what's going on. Now, let's continue. It says at least one group petitioning the court to take the case has substantial ties to both Harlan Crow, remember that name, the GOP mega donor and Justice Clarence Thomas benefactor, and Paul Singer, the hedge fund billionaire who provided the undisclosed private jet flight to Justice Samuel Alito. Now, Harlan Crow, who, you guys remember this guy? Because this guy I talked about a few months ago. Now, I actually did a video on this. So let's go back and let's show who Harlan Crow is. I did a video called Caught, Clarence Thomas, right? And I had with me Rob Durden from the Indie News Network. Shout out to Indie News Network as well. And so we talked about Clarence Thomas and about the vile man that he is. And so that's what we talked about. But we got into who Harlan Crow was and what he was doing in regards to Justice Clarence Thomas, just to refresh you guys' memory. The caption says, for over 20 years, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has been treated to luxury vacations by billionaire Republican donor Harlan Crow. And so says he goes on cruises far-flung locales on Crow's yacht, flies on his private jet, and keeps company with Crow's powerful friends at the billionaire's private resort. So as the extent of Crow's largesse has never been revealed until now. So it says Clarence Thomas and the billionaire. So this is credit to Joshua Kaplan, Justin Elliott, and Alex Mierczewski. chartered the plane and a 162-foot yacht himself. The total cost of the trip could have exceeded $500,000. Fortunately for him, that wasn't necessary. He was on vacation with a real estate magnate and Republican mega donor, Harlan Crow, who owned the jet and the yacht too. Are you surprised by any of this, Robert? Robert's not surprised. He's not. So basically, if you guys would like to, that video, I can put that in the description as well. I'm sorry, in the chat, so you guys can watch that later. But it actually talks about how Harlan Crow basically funded vacations for Justice Thomas. And of course, you guys saw about what Samuel Alito has been getting as far as free flights on private jets. So that's what's been going on. Now, let me go back to the article just so that we can continue. It says the petition to the right-wing court comes as the economic orthodoxy on rent control is shifting, with decades of economic data showing that limiting rent increases does not get in the way of new construction, as economists long argued. A broad coalition of economists, Senate Democrats, and tenants are calling on the Biden administration to regulate rents in units with government-backed mortgages. We all know that that's not really going to be, it's not going to happen. Says the challenge to New York's rent stabilization law was brought by two major New York landlord lobbying groups, the Rent Stabilization Association and the Community Housing Improvement Program. Do not let these names fool you. They will make it so that these names they sound pro-worker, pro-tenant. They have these really nice, just like how the government will do the same thing, right? It is not the same. Trust and believe. They will put these nice sounding names on these horrible bills, these horrible organizations. That's like giving the name Daisy to a mean, trained Rottweiler that is designed and trained to kill anybody and everybody on sight. Like, that's like giving the name Tinkerbell to a crocodile that's hungry. Like, oh my God, it's Tinkerbell. Next thing you know, you see this huge crocodile coming out. It's like, oh gosh, exactly. That's exactly what it's like. See, do not let the names fool you. Sarita said Cujo. Exactly. That's what's going on here. So, like I said, don't let the names fool you. Judge me by my size, do you? It says the two organizations spent a combined $4.7 million lobbying as they pushed to block the passage of a sweeping tenant protection law in 2019. The law, which expanded rent stabilization from just New York City to any locality in the state that chooses to opt in, made it more difficult for landlords to remove units from rent stabilization and added new protections to rent stabilized units. Just after the law passed, two groups sued the state, arguing that the new law in the New York City existing 1969 rent stabilization law are unconstitutional. What makes you think they're actually not going to do that here? So it says the petitioners for amnesty, friends of the court, who aren't CHIP or RSA, but weighed in with amicus briefs, argued that rent stabilization law constitutes an illegal seizure of property from landlords. Anyway, in violation of the Fifth Amendment's taking clause, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Look, this is why we got to get rid of private property anyway. Because that now make the Fifth Amendment, or we should change it from private to personal. So then personal property will still be allowed for public use, won't be taken away for public use, but private property shall no longer exist. Anyways, they also claim it violates the 14th Amendment's due process clause. It says, according to the RSA and CHIP petition, the law infringes upon landlords' right to exclude, occupy, use, change the use of, and dispose of their property. So this is really just like a giveaway to landlords. That's basically what this is. It's a massive giveaway. But what about tenants? What about us? Remember how this country was formed? Who were the people who the Constitution benefited? It was white male landowners. Even if you were white and male, if you didn't got no land, you didn't really benefit that much. And so property owners, like landlords, this is great for them. But for tenants, renters, people like us, you're screwed. So it says, in an amicus brief drafted by community groups representing tenants and homeless people, noted that the law allows landlords to decline to renew a lease with agency approval, allows landlords to recover an apartment for their personal use of the landlord or her immediate family upon showing of immediate and compelling necessity, and does not force landlords to offer vacant apartments for rent. Landlords are choosing to use their property as residential real estate, says Ellen Davidson, a staff attorney at the Legal Aid Society who helped draft the community group's amicus brief opposing the petition. The government is not physically taking the property away from the landlord. So it's just like owning a gun, right? You can own a gun, but how you use that gun could either violate the law or you won't be violating the law, right? So basically, it's determining how they use the property, not that they can't have the property. And so they're trying to say, oh my God, they're taking possession of our property by making demands of what we can do with it. And it's like, yeah, but at the same time, if you have a car, you can't do exactly what you want just because you own that car on the road. Like, you have to abide by certain laws within the road in order to be able to use that car on a continuous basis. Same thing when it comes to renting to tenants. You can only do you can only do so much in regards to your tenants within the confines of the law. That's what rent stabilization is. And so if you don't have these protections in place, then that means that you're interfering with the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, basically, for many Americans. But they don't care about that. And so this is why they're trying to get rid of it by making the case saying, no, you guys are just trying to tell us what to do with our properties. Yeah, because if you did exactly what you wanted with your properties, then you'd be hurting people. If you did exactly what you want with your gun, you'd be hurting people. If you did exactly what you wanted with your car, you'd be hurting people. This is what that's what laws are for, right? That's the point. And the thing is that you guys are talking about, this is basically getting rid of regulation, because regulation stifles the economy. What happened with a billionaire and a dude that owned a submarine when he talked about going around regulations? They tried to go see the Titanic. What happened with that? You guys know what happened with? Oh yeah, crunch. That's what I love, Nestle Crunch. So that's what happens when you forego regulations. Somebody gets hurt. Somebody gets shafted. Somebody gets crushed. That's what rent stabilization is. That's what rent control is. It's basically regulation to prevent somebody from getting harmed. But they don't care about that because their eyes are bigger than their stomachs. Interesting. Now, friends of the court weigh in. So I'm not going to end up reading this entire article, but I just want to go over some points. Okay. Ties to Crow, that is Harlan Crow, a Texas real estate mogul, so of course he's going to be interested in this, are salient as Congress urges the Justice Department to investigate Thomas's alleged repeated violations of federal ethics laws, in part by accepting the series of undisclosed luxury gifts from Crow over the 2 decades. So remember, that's what I was talking about in that video that I showed you with me and Robert Durden as we were discussing the links between Harlan Crow and Justice Clarence Thomas. Basically, there was a tie between them. And because this essentially has to deal with real estate, this is why it is so important to look at this case and see the potential damage it has, because someone like Harlan Crow could stand to make a lot of money off of overturning rent control for the entire country. And the fact that he has Justice Clarence Thomas in his pocket is very dangerous. And this is why, because Justice Clarence Thomas basically thumbed his nose at ethics violation, at ethics codes within the Supreme Court, then now basically Harlan Crow continuously has his hand puppeting Clarence Thomas in the Supreme Court. And you have people like Alito also. And there's only 9 justices. And most of the justices are conservative. So goes Clarence Thomas, goes the rest of the conservative justices. And do not put your faith in the liberal justices, because a lot of liberals are also very kind to corporations as well as people who are in real estate, especially real estate moguls and property owners. So this is why this is so dangerous. So it says in 2021, Thomas voted to overturn the federal C-19, I got to be careful how I say it, eviction moratorium. Crow's business later noted to investors that the eviction moratorium threatens their bottom line. See what I mean? Because they overturned the eviction moratorium due to the pandemic, that also helped Harlan Crow's bottom line. So if that moratorium being overturned positively affected Harlan Crow's bottom line and made him more money, then what do you think taking away rent control across the nation will also do for Harlan Crow's bottom line? He's a billionaire. Billionaire. And because he has Justice Thomas in his pocket, he gets more money, but you get homelessness. How is that fair? And for anybody who comes in and says, This isn't capitalism. This is just crony capitalism. Or this isn't capitalism. This is just a monopoly. Let me learn you something. In capitalism, it is a system that requires infinite growth on a planet with finite resources, right? Year over year, you have to grow, even if it's by like 0.5%, 0.75%, 1%. Growth has to happen, especially when it comes to the dividends that you have to pay to your investors, right? They have to have greater profits year over year. That being said, that growth happens in a few different ways. One, cutting costs. This can also mean cutting costs in regards to safety and regulation, right? So they can cut corners that way. Another one is raising prices. That's another way that they can increase profits. A third way is by cutting costs through taking away benefits for employees, firing employees, things like that. So that's what it does. And then another fourth way is by absorbing other companies in order to take on more customers and to have more profit. So what happens when it absorbs other companies? That means there are less companies, which means it concentrates the amount of power that a company has. Meaning it gets down to when you have one company operating in an industry, or maybe a couple, that's when you get a monopoly. And that's what happens in capitalism. So capitalism leads to monopolization. Therefore, saying that, oh, it's not capitalism is wrong. Saying that capitalism and monopolies are not together, they're separate, is like saying potatoes don't turn into French fries. The thing is that it's all the same. It is all within the same frame, is all essentially part of the same thing. Potatoes, French fries, potatoes, potato chips, potatoes, au gratin, potato, home fries. It's all the same. It does not matter because it all originates from the same source. So saying is not capitalism is cronyism, or it's not capitalism, it's monopoly, is crazy, because it's basically saying that, oh, that's not apples, it's apple pie. What? Are you kidding me? See the logic? So that's why when I say it's capitalism, that's because essentially that's what it is at its core, at its fundamental level. So I just want to put that out there for anybody who's like, well, it's cronyism, it's monopolization. Yes, that's what happens in capitalism. Look, if a cis man and cis woman, you know what I mean, and there ain't no pull-out game, the likelihood of a baby happening, well, pregnancy is pretty much going to happen. Same thing in capitalism. Sorry, I had to. But yeah, that's basically the thing, right? So, I mean, yeah, by the way, ketchup does belong on hash browns. I don't care what nobody says. It does. Anyway, but yes. Thank you, Pittsburgh dude. But let's continue on. I had to go over that rant really quick because it's like, come on now. Let's call a thing a thing. Now, this is something that we need to go over. Okay. The Manhattan Institute, a conservative think tank with financial ties to Crow and Singer, has used the court to take the rent stabilization case. Has urged the court to take the rent stabilization case. Says the extreme nature of the city's regulatory scheme calls for this court's intervention. That was a brief co-authored by Isla Shapiro, a senior fellow and the director of constitutional studies at the Manhattan Institute. Remember that name, the Manhattan Institute. Says Shapiro has been publicly defending Crow's gifts to Thomas as well as Singer's gift to Alito. So Isla Shapiro is basically saying it's not a bad thing that Harlan Crow is basically funding the vacations and some parts of Justice Thomas' life, even though that essentially affects Thomas's rulings on how he conducts himself regarding people in industries that Harlan Crow is involved in. So she's basically saying, oh, it's not an issue. Bribery's not that big of a deal. That's basically what she's making a case for bribery. And she's with the Manhattan Institute. The corruption of it all. Baby, the corruption. Now, here's the kicker. It says Crow's wife sits on the Manhattan Institute Board of Trustees. Singer, who has donated millions to Manhattan Institute, is the organization's chairman. Says the National Multifamily Housing Council, a national landlord lobbying group with close ties to Crow's real estate companies, Crow Holdings, has previously filed a brief in favor of Chip and RSA at the federal circuit court level, but has not filed a new one with the Supreme Court. What do they have to do? They don't even really need to. All he has to do is call his buddy Clarence Thomas. Hey, Clarence, I need y'all to see this case. And, it would be beneficial to many of us Americans. It would be beneficial to Americans like me and many other people. And then we can continuously to be job creators. This will benefit our economy. It'll grow our GDP, right? He'll say some bullshit like that. And then next thing you know, oh, yeah, we'll definitely hear that case. And then who are they going to rule for? Oh, the job creators, the people that drive up our GDP, like the landlords and the real estate moguls. So they already got them in their pocket. So this is what's going on. So here's the point. It says major real estate and corporate lobbying groups are urging the High Court to hear the case, including the California Business Roundtable, the Real Estate Board of New York, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and the National Apartment Association. This is going to hurt a lot of people. This is going to put a lot of people in harm's way. Let me put this link in the chat so you guys can have access to this and share it among all the people who especially are tenants. Share it amongst yourselves, share it amongst your tenants, your fellow tenants. I also have a quick video that I want to share and comment on, because this is deeply important, because over a third of the nation rents. Actually, let me take this down too, so that won't get in my way. All right. Yeah. Okay. So if you guys have not already, I encourage all of you to subscribe to More Perfect Union's YouTube channel because they put out great videos basically by and for workers. So let's go and examine this.
The housing market is a catastrophe.
Record rental prices across the United States.
And something's got to give.
Living in America is freaking ridiculous right now.
I can't afford any of these apartments.
$1,800 for a one-bedroom apartment.
$1,400 for 485 square feet.
I just have to live in my truck.
Over a third of Americans are renters, and if you're in that category, you probably don't need to be told that the rental market is out of control. The question is, can anything actually be done about it? A historic wave of tenant organizing, unlike anything we've seen in decades, has found one answer: national rent control.
The tenant movement is absolutely within striking distance of rent regulation at the national level.
But it's not just tenants who are organized. This is also a story about how some of America's biggest landlords, banks, and private equity firms are hiding behind innocent-sounding front groups, all while pooling high. All while pooling their money to keep your rent high. And private equity firms are hiding behind innocent-sounding front groups.
My bad. So you see that? It says National Multifamily Housing Council. What were you just looking at in that article? Some innocuous sounding name, National Multifamily Housing Council Incorporate. See that incorporate? That's the mark of the beast. Whenever you see incorporate, that's the mark of the beast, baby. Don't let them fool you. They have to put that there by law. Good Lord. Let me continue.
All while pooling their money to keep your rent high.
I moved into Waldo Heights in 2018. So I've been here 5 years now. And every year since I've been here, my rent has increased.
That happened to me, basically. The only year that it didn't was because in 2020 was because of the pandemic. And I guess they were feeling kind of generous. They were like, well, we're not going to increase it this year because it's going to be hard on people. So we're not going to increase your rent. When in reality, it shouldn't have increased because my rent increased 25%. You see, I think it increased 25% by 2021. I think they went another like 35% the year afterwards. Yeah, that much. That high. Mind you, I'm disabled and on disability. My mother is elderly and on Social Security. That's it. This is why I have a GoFundMe, just to help me with my daily bills because I just can't make it. So the thing is that this is what we're going through, and yet my rent still keeps going up. And I'm struggling. And many of you are struggling too. And the rents keep going up. Let me continue.
Every time my rent is raised, I'm at a crossroads of being evicted.
Millions of renters like Val are trapped in a rental market that's built to empower abusive landlords who can raise rents each year while allowing conditions to get worse and worse.
The mice, the roach infestations, sometimes they don't pick up our garbage. When I first moved here, I was told that the security gate was going to be fixed. The gate is still not fixed. And so people come in and they sleep in our hallways. I'm afraid sometimes to come in my building at night. My landlord is Landmark Realty, corporation based in California. They don't care. They just don't care.
Since the last financial crisis, rental units are increasingly owned and operated by corporations like Landmark that are accountable, first and foremost, to their private investors. For tenants like Val, legal protections against abusive landlords are often limited. But she discovered one powerful way to fight back.
So me and my neighbor, my best friend down the hall from me, we just said one day, she was like, let's call KC Tenants. And I said, okay. So I called and I left a message on the hotline. And a couple of days later, I got a phone call back.
A group called KC Tenants were fighting to stop eviction hearings at the Jackson County Courthouse.
Evictions will kill.
So, does that name sound familiar to any of you? I hope it does, because KC Tenants also is partnering with Nick of RBN, and Nick tries to, do things with KC Tenants within his area in order to help people who are renters. So, shout out to KC Tenants. They're doing the damn thing out there to help people, and I'm trying to look for associations here in Orlando. I think I found one. I think it's Tenant Power. I think that's their name. So I'm going to try to get with them to have them on my channel in order to talk about what they're doing. But shout out to KC Tenants, man. They're doing the damn thing, helping people who are renters. All right, let's continue.
People like me.
Charged crowd packed City Hall for more than 3 hours. The yellow shirts in the room are tenants, each with their own personal story.
In a national housing crisis where rent inflation has vastly outpaced income growth, groups like KC Tenants have given their members power to take on their landlords.
We have written and passed a tenant's bill of rights. We've won free lawyers for every tenant facing eviction. We've organized buildings and neighborhoods. And just recently, we elected 4 members of city council.
And that movement seems to be growing.
Places like Louisville, Kentucky, Bozeman, Montana, Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
The current surge in tenant organizing is the most significant since the 1970s. And it's allowing renters to fight for the kind of big relief that only the federal government can enact.
There are millions of tenants across the country being squeezed by landlords like Landmark, and our federal government is bending out.
That's right.
We can fight back by winning rent control for everyone at Waldo Heights and protecting
Now, just to let you guys know, this is why people like Shama Sawant is so effective, because Shama Sawant actually, worked to pass rent control in Seattle. And when she was city councilwoman of Seattle city government. So this is why it is important. Now, I know that some people don't believe in voting anymore, but when it comes to people, voting in people like Shama Sawant, she was able to, help out, as far as on the city level, on the municipal level, in order to make lives for the working and poor people just a little bit easier. And so this is why, in addition to voting for ballot initiatives, if you vote locally, especially for city council and mayor, and they are for things like rent control and giving power to tenants and renters, then it would be worth it to actually look into their policies, give a full look over their policies. But if they're actually fighting for people that are working, then, you can take a look at them. I prefer, to just look at people who are nonpartisan at all, no party affiliation, or third party or independents. And if they are ones who basically are for tenant power or renter power, then give them a look. See if they actually go in the direction that you think that they should be going in as somebody who is a manager of city government. So go ahead and take, keep that in mind as well. Even if you don't want to vote for anybody nationally, you also have local as well, which directly affects your life.
When Landmark Realty secured a mortgage for Val's building in 2014, their loan was actually backed by the federal government. Corporate landlords like Landmark often benefit from lucrative loans through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, government-sponsored enterprises that purchase mortgages from banks and set terms for them. With 1 in 4 apartment units across the country financed in this way, the government is essentially in business with our landlords. But that may be just the leverage that renters need.
We want to see every dollar of federal financing conditioned on a set of tenant protections.
So I want to go to this point here, because this goes into a little bit deeper about the National Multifamily Housing Council.
Council spend millions lobbying Congress and federal agencies to oppose rent control. Since the start of last year, the NMHC has spent almost $10 million lobbying against it. The NMHC's members include major banks, private equity firms, and some of America's most notorious corporate landlords, like Greystar, Avalon Bay, and Blackstone.
So it's not to be confused with BlackRock. BlackRock and Blackstone are actually, they have some relation to each other, but Blackstone is basically a private equity firm. And this is one of the ways in which a lot of us are experiencing price hikes and inflation within the country. I put inflation in air quotes because in reality, it's really just price gouging, right? And so these private equity firms, what they do is that they increase the prices just so that they can make more profit. It's not that they actually need to increase it because, their workers aren't making enough. No, they don't care about the workers not making enough. They just want to increase the amount of money that their shareholders get. And so it's basically like, well, we can raise the price of food. What are they going to do? They need the food. They can't do without it. They can't survive without it. So we're just going to increase the price of food. Basically, any industry where it requires us to live, that's where they're going to be the most abusive with. So what have we experienced? Housing, food, healthcare, things like that, right? So because they have this control over the private equity, and what they do is they just increase the price, even fuel, they'll increase the price like crazy because they know that we can't operate without it. And so because we can't operate without it, we're forced to have to pay for it. You're forced. I'm forced. If you don't own your own home, they can increase the rent exponentially. And you're screwed because if you don't have it, then guess what? You have to pay. You have to pay by living out in the streets. And it's not just rent from us, homes. Think about all the small businesses that are renting their units and how, let's say you operate out of an office, out of a parcel in a mini mart, a strip mall. And you have to pay your rent to that strip mall so that you can operate in that area. Well, you're a one-person operation and you own the means of production yourself. and you're trying to make your profit for yourself, but more of that profit ends up having to go to your operation costs, because guess what? These landlords for commercial properties are also increasing your rent. So therefore, you're now struggling even as a small business owner. And you don't even have employees. Never mind the fact that I agree with having a co-op, but even if you're a co-op, you and your fellow co-owners, co-worker owners, they will have to do with less. So let me continue.
Blackstone is the world's largest private equity firm, and by some accounts, the largest landlord in the US. In recent years, private equity firms like Blackstone have increasingly been buying up housing assets, often with lucrative loans backed by Fannie and Freddie. Tenants have complained of rent hikes, evictions, and faceless corporate landlords unresponsive to repairs. The UN even accused Blackstone of worsening the global housing crisis by buying up.
The UN! Holy crap! The UN! The UN accuses Blackstone Group of contributing to global housing crisis? And yet they're allowed to stay and keep doing what they're doing? And then, well, you have Blackstone over here contributing to the housing crisis and making us to a nation of renters and increasing rent so high that we can't live, right? You have Blackstone. Over here, you have BlackRock that basically owns everything when it comes to funding our lives. Whether it's the food that we buy, the clothes that we wear, our healthcare, and all these other different entities that we need to survive just to live. You have BlackRock owning all this, and then Blackstone owning our homes. You live in the United Corporations of America. That's where you live. You don't live in any state. It's a corporation. Wicked, wicked shit, I'm telling you, man.
Buying up properties and hiking rents across the world. Meanwhile, Blackstone CEO Steven Schwartzman earned $1.3 billion last year.
You already know. Guillotines.
For private equity firms like Blackstone, membership in lobbying groups is a way to protect their profits against threats like the current push for rent control. A 2023 lobbying disclosure shows the NMHC has been lobbying the Biden administration against rent control, and the FHFA.
So you know Joe Biden's not going to be behind it. You know he's not. Everybody and their mama knows that Joe Biden's not going to stand behind this. So here's the thing. I don't care if you say, oh my goodness, well, we're the Democratic Party and we're for the workers. No, you're not, because look, Joe Biden's not for the workers. He haven't been. Look, ask somebody that works for a railroad company if Joe Biden's actually for the workers. I'll wait. Number one. Number two, they're already lobbying Biden already because they know Biden's on their side. They know. So, guess what? They have Joe Biden in their pocket. They have the Supreme Court in their pocket. What makes you think they're actually going to make sure this gets stopped? I'll be honest with you. I honestly would love to see all of us just stop paying rent completely. Just like don't pay rent. Like September's rent, we all just put our money in escrow. We all just put our money in escrow and go, you know what? No, we're not paying. We got the money, but we're not paying you. We want to reset. Everybody's rent gets dropped by 50%. Everybody's. Because this is crazy, man. This is wicked. Doesn't matter what party you think. You can think the Republican Party is behind you all you want. Guess what? They are even more enthusiastic about their partnership with companies like Blackstone than even what the Democrats are. And they're cool with them. And please do not think somebody like Donald Trump is going to be establishment. Donald Trump came up in real estate, bruh. That's who he is. You don't think he's not going to allow these people to actually do the same thing? He's buddy with these people. I want everybody who's watching, if you're a conservative, and by the way, if you are, welcome. Let's have a conversation. If you are a conservative, I want you to look at somebody like Donald Trump and see him the same as you see Joe Biden. They're not different, bro. They're not. They don't even have to lobby for somebody like Trump because they know he's already in their pocket. Let's continue.
Phase oversight of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And it's not hard to guess what their lobbyists are saying in those meetings.
Y'all, we just had a team of people go into the NMHC offices. We did a meeting with their government affairs director. Cindy told us this is just a problem of housing supply.
That's a common argument from industry lobbyists, that if rent control limits developers' potential for profit, they just won't build as much housing. There's no question we need to build way more housing. And there are...
Now, this is the part where I actually disagree. We don't need to build more housing. We don't. There's over 16 million vacant homes in the United States. 16 million. Even if half of that 16 million vacant homes, let's say 8 million, are not viable for occupancy, you still have another 8 million homes that are viable for occupancy. And then the other 8 million, you could literally have government funds make it so that those homes are now available for occupancy. We don't need more affordable housing. We just need to make the housing we already have affordable. In fact, to go even further, housing should be a right. Point blank period. Like, what are you doing saying that, oh, well, we're just going to have housing, paywall? And then you got people who have multiple homes. One person, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 homes. While there are people sleeping on the streets or sleeping on your couch with none. Is that fair? Don't come at me with life's not fair. Well, life's not fair. No. It may not be fair, but why are you participating in making it even less fair? So yeah, that's what's going on. That's a wonderful video by More Perfect Union. Go ahead and give them a sub and share their videos as well, because that, it's crazy, how people will say, well, that's just the nature of the business. No, you can change the nature of the business. And just to put a finer point on it, and shout out to Roger Meadows for sharing this with me, you have the National Low Income Housing Coalition. And this is what you guys need to see. How much do you need to earn to afford a modest apartment in your state? Right? Hourly wage required to afford a 2-bedroom rental home by state. Now, I've shown this many times, and I'm going to keep showing it. In places like Florida, you need to make, in my state, you need to make $30.59 an hour in order to afford a 2-bedroom rental. That means you need to work 111 hours a week in order to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in Florida. 111 hours a week. Which is ridiculous. Fair market rent for a 1-bedroom is $1,312. 2-bedroom fair market is $1,591 a month. So that's just in my state of Florida. But many of you, look, Louisiana, you need to make $19.39 an hour to afford a 2-bedroom, right? That you had to work 107 hours a week. I'm not even going to go to the big states. Look at Illinois, $24.59 an hour. You have to work 76 hours a week. Ohio, $19.09 an hour just to afford a 2-bedroom rental. You have to work 76 hours a week on their minimum wage. North Carolina, $21.54 an hour. This is not sustainable. It's not. I have friends in Iowa. This is one of the cheapest. You need to make $18.13 an hour, but you have to work 100 hours a week in order to afford a 2-bedroom apartment there. So when people talk about, well, that's just the nature of the business. And then a lot of people who can't afford it, they did all the right things. They went to college. They got a career. But now it's no longer, well, all you have to do is work hard. Then it changed from just work hard to just work hard and go to college. Then it went to just work hard, go to college, and get into the right industry. Then it went to just work hard, go to college, get into the right industry, and come up with a great idea. Now it's, you're fucked. That's basically what it is. Because the thing is like, we were told, like, my grandparents' generation were told just work hard. My parents' generation was just work hard, go to college. My generation was just work hard, go to college, and get into the right industry. Because then they'll be like, oh my God, you got a liberal arts degree. You went to college and you got a liberal arts degree. No wonder why you're poor. But you went to college. But you didn't get the right industry. Sorry. Then you went to college, went into the right industry. Let's say you learned the code, but now you're out of a job because AI is taking your job. So now what? Oh, you got to come up with a great idea. Not everybody is an idea person. See how they move the goalposts further and further away? That's the system. They'll make it seem like, oh my God, all you have to do is work hard. That ain't true, boo. Because if that was the case, then my ancestors would be billionaires by now. They would have made, I would have been a trust fund baby. The Fauntleroys would have been trust fund babies. I'd be made in the shit. You wouldn't even see me here. But no, because meritocracy is a myth. It's a myth. Anyway, let me go to the chat before I bust a valve. I'm about to blow an aorta. Lord, oh Lord. People get on my goddamn nerves. Bunch of ridiculous people. All right, so wait, did I? Get that down. Oh, ooh. All right, let me go to the chat. I need y'all to help me calm down. These people piss me off. Because people are suffering out there, man. All right. Share the screen. All right. And then I'll get to my last two stories. They're very quick anyway. So thank you for the tip, Roger. Roger says, you're right. It's not our fault. It's the boss's fault for paying us these paychecks that are so goddamn low. Thank you, Roger. Oh, my God. Big brother coming in with the assist. He says, it's also why we've hit the $1 trillion credit card debt crisis. Oh, you ain't saying nothing but a word. He said, if you use credit cards to pay for bills and essentials, guess what your pay is too goddamn low. Exactly. If you need a credit card to pay for your shit, you're not getting paid enough. All right, let's continue. Roger says, we need more than just rent regulation. All that is a reform. We need to take private equity out of the picture altogether. Let me just stop right there. Roger. I love you. Exactly. He says we need to take private equity out of the picture altogether by outlawing them of owning housing, but not just housing, but hospitals, medical facilities, nursing homes, clinics, as well as land. Thank you. Oh my gosh. He says, I give you Maui. Don't dare let yourselves be propagandized by thinking that Supreme Court of the United States can't be overruled by new laws and edit laws they struck down. Thank you so very much for that. Exactly. Remember Maui, people, because that's what's going on right now. Roger continues, says, corporations are bad when they are private, but the moment they go public, watch out. Your ass is about to get served. You sell your company to shareholder, aka vultures, they will suck the life right out of it. Shareholders are black holes that must feed. They have an insatiable hunger that will never be satisfied. Like I said on the last comment, saying we must bar them from owning housing and land, but also passed right of first refusal amendment saying that once a company grows beyond a certain threshold, or if it already has, before they file for bankruptcy, before they go public, or if it already has, before they automate or further automate, before they merge, and before they outsource, they make an offer to their workers to purchase the company. If workers do not wish to own the company, then the company must include a severance package with a paycheck equal to what they would have made in a year if it is a national or global company. 6 months if it's a mid-sized company. 3 months for a small company. Also, push the state's attorney general to enforce the Model Corporate Charter Ratification Act to remove a company's corporate charter. Then right of first refusal can kick in to allow workers to purchase. Thank you so very much for that. Those facts. Roger Meadow continues, says, I called up KC Tenants a couple weeks ago. Number one answered. I left a message. Number one called back. I didn't remember until you reminded me with this segment. With that said, citizens of Missouri may initiate legislation as either a state statute or a constitutional amendment. Glad Nick's associated with KC Tenants. Can you please ask him to Avenger assemble this army to push a citizen ballot initiative amendment, not law, allowing for private equity from owning housing? I can deliver that to him because that's also important. Roger Meadows also continues, says the top-down strategy of starting at DC, then working down to local level ain't working. Damn, that's true. He said, we must do bottom-up strategy, starting with the state and local. Kansas City also allows for local ballot measures. Push an amendment suing the citizen ballot initiative process at state level and push legislation as a KC measure. Get that bad boy on the 2024 ballot. Remember, laws can be repealed without asking you first, but unlike amendments. Thank you so very much. Dave Burt says, in general, ignore DC, let it go, let it spoil. As Hoffa said to the leading dock workers loading the vegetables, let it spoil. Join the local action movement. And then Dave Burt says, Wall Street controls high government, not the other way around. But it is too dangerous to expand government on the Kucinich model now. We don't have the right inside people yet or soon, next couple of years. Thank you so very much for that. All right, so let me go to the rest of the chat here. Thanks for the super chat. Roger says, NA, go back to the hammer reference, J, build or destroy. Oh, yeah. For government is like a hammer. You can either build or destroy, basically, the systems in order to help people. So, it's how do you wield that hammer? So thank you so very much, Roger. He also continues, says, Jay, show the PDF, scroll to your state. Each state has its own page. Then go to the part that says most expensive jurisdictions. Yeah, so I just showed that. I didn't have I have the PDF, but I showed the website because it actually pops up. So I showed that. Thank you so much, Reality member. Oh, Reality Revolution's been a member for 7 months. Woo! Yes. Reality Revolution says, ain't Gaddafi's Libya. Can't give everyone housing. Yeah. That's true. All right. Creative Experiment says, never tell your landlord you got a raise. See, that can work, but unfortunately in income-based housing, a lot of times what they'll do is you have to report that. It sucks, but some of us, we have to go into income-based, which makes it easier for us to afford, but you have to report that if you get a raise, that's part of their application, that you have to report whenever you get a raise. So unfortunately, that's the way it happens. Notori Lee says, but they're not doing it every year. My rent was raised 4 times. 4 times? Notori. Homie. No. They can't be doing that. They can't be raising your rent multiple times. If you have a lease agreement, I'm sorry, Notori. I'm very sorry. They should not be. Oh my God, these people are parasites, man. Oh. Colin says, I can't move anywhere if I needed to because I can't pay my rent on my own if I did. And I have a middle-class government job. What? Wait. Hold up. Anybody who's black and who's watching right now, please answer this for me. Because this is why I'm just like this. I remember this, okay? In the black community, when you hear somebody getting a government job, we all went, oh my God, that's good. Government jobs are good. You get good benefits, you get good pay. All of us in the black community, whenever if you got a job working for the city, the county, or the federal government, right? Let's say you got a job working for the United States Postal Service. Oh my God. Oh, that's a government job. That's a good job. Black community, we would be congratulating you over a government job. And we'd be like, do you know how hard it is to get a government job? Yeah. We all were like, yo, government job, that's where it's at. And you're saying, Colin, that you can't even afford to live on your own even though you have a government job, that's messed up, man. Things really change, bruh. My God. That sucks. Oh my goodness. Victoria says, yes, the beginning of the year I was paying $300 in a one-bedroom apartment in North Carolina. Now I'm paying $450. Got the letter in the mail to. Oh my gosh. Victoria continues, says, it may not sound like a lot, but here in North Carolina, stuff was cheap. Now it's going up like crazy every week. Yeah, because a lot of Northerners are moving to your state because they saw it was cheap. And now they're like, oh, snap, it's popping. Let me move to North Carolina. And now your rent's going up. And now, unfortunately, and I hate to say this, but you're going to start experiencing gentrification, Notori. And that's what's going to suck for you. Sis, I hope things change for the better. I really do. Let me continue. A couple more. Dwayne says this is why Oliver Anthony's Richmond, North of Richmond became a working class anthem internationally. Yeah, it has. I mean, he has some blind spots in a couple of the lyrics of the song, but at the same time, it's also speaking some truth. Shout out to some others who are also doing an answer to that song as well. I think, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm forgetting names today. I'm sorry, but he's part of INN. I just had him on a few weeks ago. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. But Jesse Jett. Jesse Jett also has been making songs like this for quite some time now, too. So, I'm glad that more songs are being put out that actually are more working class anthems. And I hope to see more people put out more songs about being in the working class so that we can actually use the art that we have in order to get these messages out there. So it shouldn't just be limited to one person. It should be a bunch of people who are also talking about these things as well. Okay, now, so let's go to the next story. Now, what else are we going to be talking? Oh, by the way, give me a like. Go ahead, like the stream. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, so also, next story I'm going to do is stunning success. Oh, this was good. This was good. Okay, now we're going to get into some of the happy stories. Okay, now, as you guys know, Rome, part of RBN, he had a documentary put out about him and what he's trying to do in Detroit, right? The documentary is called Rome Death to America. Now, a lot of people would sit back and go, what kind of name is that? Until you realize what he actually means. And let me just share a little bit of the documentary as well so that you guys can get just a taste of what he's talking about. Now, let's see. Goodness gracious. I know I have it saved, but all right, so I'm just going to share just a couple of snippets from it, and then I'm going to talk about what happened over the weekend, because this is some nice news, man, and I'd just like to share it with y'all. Good Lord. Is it live? It wasn't live. Where'd it go? Where did it? Oh, here it is. Right in front of me. JB, get it together, man. So I'm going to share this with you guys. If you guys have not seen this, Rome Death to America, produced and directed by Right Brain Studios. You guys need to see this. This is raw, real, and enlightening.
Name me after him. Growing up in these blocks, it was, the mother and the father in the home, and sometimes a mother can just make it off of one check. But it started to get harder on people. We started seeing people disappear or going to the military, the army, or prison system, and it just never come back the same. There is no wrong way of protesting. Everybody has a fight in a revolution, right?
What's that word? What you charge?
Yep, that's the gas station I do my gas runs at. I would do a gas run today, but I'm fucking broke, and I didn't do no fundraising this morning, so I had a long morning. I had a late night and a long morning, so look at my dude. Helping people out. I told you I was gonna be here with my team. How y'all doing? That's my boy. We go hand in hand. I'm ready to do my gas giveaways. He ain't got no problem with me standing up here. You know what I'm saying? Helping the people out. Like, man, it's all cool. He let me smoke my weed in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And sell my weed. It's all love. Oh shit, that's probably too much. Let me get $2 on 3. I got a little gas can trying to cut this down the yard. All right. Oh yeah, man. We're gonna show.
So when Rome was here last year, me and him also did a gas run. It's one of the things that he does in Tour for the Poor. Sometimes he'll take money that is donated and he'll go to the gas station, and anybody that's coming in to get gas, he'll add to their tank. So let's say somebody's getting like $5 worth of gas because let's say they're broke, they only have $5 and they only can get a couple of dollars in gas. And what Rome will do will be like, okay, put 5 more on their tank. So it helps them go a little farther so they can get back into from work or do what they need to do for their kids or go and get to the grocery store, and they won't have to worry as much. So that's what me and Rome did down here. That's what he does in Detroit. Or he'll use those funds to gather food and feed people. Or like one time he did thousands of diapers, thousands of boxes, just gave away diapers, gave away toys to kids, coats, blankets, things like that for kids. So this is some of the things that he did, and they talk about that. But there's also other pieces as well where they talk to some of Rome's friends as well in the area. And it talks about like what happened in the areas that he lived as well. So
in Detroit alone. So what else is the children left with? They're left with drugs, they're left with guns and violence and whatever else is out here for them. Detroit. It was beautiful. When people think about Detroit, they think about crime. They think about the riots.
This is a shot along Linwood. The flames and the field.
But what they don't think about
Neither the mayor or the governor.
is the neglect. But before I get into all of that, let me take you back just a bit. 1959, Motown Records was created. Detroit took over the world.
And you gotta love the cinematography that they did. Just amazing.
You got stories that probably don't even make it across America. Like, you got stories of people just going to random people's houses, killing their kids, raping a woman, just crazy stuff. Like, each part of Detroit is different. Like, you got the east side, you got the west side, you got southwest Detroit, then you got like number streets. Like, even with the side of east side, it's different areas. Like, think about the east side of Detroit. You got the red zone, the dead zone. Detroit, we taking scammer to a different level when the term scammer don't mean technological, your car, your bank, or nothing like that. We mean like scam you out your feelings, scam you off the street, scam you out your life. Like, you get desensitized to it too. Like,
so just to give you guys a scope of this documentary, this is how raw and real it is. So I encourage all of you guys to watch it. But if you guys do, credit out to Right Brain Studios for the direction and production of this documentary. If you guys have not, I've had Kevin Ronka on, multiple times, and I had his partner for Right Brain Studios, Nick, I think his name is, on as well. So if you guys have not, you guys can go to Right Brain TV, rightbrainstudios.tv, and you guys can actually become a member. They do $5 a month. They actually are a streaming service. And on top of it, and it's also linked in the description below, but they also do a lot of revolutionary films from around the world. They even have banned films from DPRK in Cuba. And so you guys can actually go there and become a member and stream the Right Brain Studios. By the way, they don't care if you share passwords. They don't care. Their motto is F Netflix, basically, which I love. So watch the films and gain some knowledge about these areas, as well as, it's not just documentaries, it's just also films that are, that are made. They have so many different resources. They have, embargoed films of Cuba, Eyes of the World, different Right Brain originals. They also, Rome Death to America is also an original Right Brain documentary. You have sanctioned films of North Korea. So these things are curated. And so if you guys would like to, I actually would love to recommend that you guys do that. Now, there is a film festival that was recent. And that recent film festival, they actually had a great response from the people at the film festival. And so I would like to show just some of the Q&A from that festival. From what I think they got like applause like 6 times. It was wonderful. So this is Rome and cast and crew that are speaking about, that are answering questions right now. Well, not right now, but over the weekend from the Defy Film Festival.
Because they want you there. Your life is controlled. Every step. You live under the NATO. You live under NATO. You live under the NDAA. You live under the Patriot Act. You have no privacy. You have none of these freedoms that these people like to shout and holler about. You have none of it. It's all an illusion. The only thing that you have is yourself and your community. If you want better, it's the perfect time to come together with all the differences that we have, whether we are white, black, or wherever it may be. We all need the same damn thing. And if you are not trying to fight for those things, then who's going to fight for them? You know? Can't nobody speak for you but you.
Okay, does anyone in the audience have a question they'd like to ask Rome or the filmmakers? Can you keep your hand raised if you raise your hand?
Hi, I was wondering if you could give us feedback as an audience, especially on the question of, did we laugh at the right things? I found myself laughing early on and then thinking, I'm not sure that was.
How dare you stop? What in the world?
Actually supposed to be each other. So
I'm sorry, I laughed at my best friend getting robbed. Okay, look. That's my best friend. I get a pad. I do it all the time. Very pads. So I'm just like, damn, man. You know, but it's fair. We laugh at what how you feel. You know, I can't tell you, hey, stop that. It's not a laughing part. This is the deep part. You know, it ain't up to you to control the crowd. The crowd do what they want. But yeah, I'm just happy that y'all laugh. But it was a joke that I'm so mad that Kevin cut out. Because a couple of people heard it in the front, but it was a joke. Y'all seen when I was in Family Dollar. I was getting water and whatnot. Somebody was like, hey man, what's up with all these cameras and whatnot? I was like, man, terms and conditions that you gotta accept on Apple. Like, I accepted the terms and conditions when I was a whole bunch of white people following me. I see the cut, but we was on crucial time. I'm like, all right. I'm gonna let this slide. But I'm gonna tell somebody. I tell somebody what I said. That was funny. That was off the top.
So you have Kevin, Mark, and Rome there. Rome, of course, looking cleaner than the Board of Health. I got to give my love out and shout out to Rome. Look, if you guys would like to, Rome Death to America is actually on RBN right now. So if you guys would like to, you guys can actually watch the full movie, the full documentary, and share it with your friends. Right now, the documentary, let me see. How many views does it have so far? It's at 5.7 thousand views. So, of course, a lot of people have actually seen it, and they are like, "Oh my God, this is a great documentary. It is educational. It lets you know." And a lot of times, people will get turned off by the name "Death to America," but once you actually see what he means by it, it's not actual meaning harm of people, but it's harm of institutions that continuously harm us as a people. And really, it's about bringing life to all the people, and especially the people who are poor and destitute in this nation, the marginalized. So that's what it's really about. And I implore you to not only show it to the people around you, but people who you know internationally, show it to them as well. And if you guys would like to, please make sure to also subscribe to Right Brain TV. They do amazing work on the ground as far as being filmmakers. Let's not just, they are also independent media. So when we say support independent media, it's not just us who are on YouTube and Rockfin and Rumble, also filmmakers like Right Brain, also people who make music like Jesse Jet, you know what I mean? Or Riley X, because, last week I had Riley X, he was rhyming, boy was spitting bars. So, I'm going to try to get Riley X on here because that dude can spit bars. So I would like to get him on here as well and get more artists as well to talk to them as well. Now let's go to let me go to the chat really quick before I get to my final story, and it'll be some really good news. I cannot wait as well. Let me go to The Rock. really right quick. Okay. All right. So Dave Burt says Rome getting out there. Nice. So here in Mass, food is wicked expensive. Yeah. Thank you so very much, Dave Burt. Roger Meadows says private equity owns housing in North South Carolina too. New Yorkers move into Charlotte and Charleston. Natives being priced out of cities, being forced to move to their ver of Long Island, increasing time to commute to work. Is that what that says? Oh. To the ver of Long Island, increasing their commute to work. Unless they start developing in rural areas, making it friendly to the people, not the capitalists. Larry showed me data saying New York City has a 2023 population of 7.8 million. New York City is currently declining at a rate of negative 3.48% annually, and its population decreased by has a declining rate of 3.48% annually and has a population decreased by 10.09% since the most recent census, which recorded a population of 8.7 million in 2020. Oh, wow. I dropped off an Uber customer at JFK this morning. She was going to visit her mom in Detroit, where she grew up. Her dad retired from Ford. I asked her about the show, about how is Detroit now. She says it's improved. She said there was a lot of city corruption that was going on, which I don't doubt, but I couldn't help to take note that she was white. And I thought a lot of times politicians' strategy of improving a downtrodden area or district is not improve the lives for those there, but to improve it, to replace them with new residents so that new people don't realize how they benefited from gentrification. Yes, a lot of times people will they will get benefits from gentrification and think, oh my God, the city's gotten better. When in reality, it hasn't gotten better. It's just gotten more expensive, especially for people who are living in that area. Dave Burt says private equity is another of financial fascist control of especially housing, but also medical hospital systems too. Yes, thank you so very much for that. Let's go to the YouTube side. Colin says, I have family in Michigan, and most of them blame black people rather than capitalism for killing the city. Yeah, it's ultimately class, and they use race and class in conjunction with each other in order to make the blame. It's basically scapegoating. That's what they do. And they don't realize that it's the corporate dictators that are really making our lives the way this is. Katie Lewis says documentary was fire, raw, and real. Hey, Katie, good to see you. Katie is also part of the Orlando chapter of RBN. Give Katie a warm and lovely welcome as well. Good to see you, Katie. All right. And let me see. Who else? Let me see. You guys are talking about Caleb Maupin. Katie says the way America functions needs to die so more Americans can live and thrive. Absolutely, I agree. Sean Miller says the banks and city councils work together to keep improvements from communities that needed to devalue the property. Then they increase police presence. Yes, there was a gentleman actually in a TikTok. I remember. He was talking about how a lot of the poor communities, but especially a lot of black communities, they will have rundown buildings. And what they'll do is they will purposefully buy these buildings super cheap, let them stay run down, and then they will have the city buy it. But then the city will buy it, and they will make profit off of it by owning them, and then the city buys it from them, so they actually make a whole bunch of money. So let's say you have an acre of property and it went down to $200 for that acre of property. It has a rundown, dilapidated building that you can't live in. You cannot occupy that building anymore. And you buy it for $200. City comes in and goes, okay, we're going to give you $1,200 for this acre of property. Okay, great. You just made $1,000 profit from the city, from the taxpayers for this property that you left destitute and dilapidated, discombobulated, whatever you want to call it. Because that person had the money and they did that. Instead of renovating the building, instead of people actually being able to live in that property. And I'm just giving a kind of an example, but that's how it's done. So they can continuously make more profits. And then they don't contribute anything to the city, but they get to live in the suburbs and continuously just own and make more money off of us. So that's what happens. Reality Revolution says lead, chemicals, fire, how the ruling class buy up all the property for pennies on the dollar, aka Maui. Yep. All right, so let me go to my final story. I am over time, but I want to get to the story because this is good news. Oh my Lord. This is some great news. I was happy to see this. And then I'll get to my last house cleaning things. But yo, let's take a look at this. All right. Let me do this first. This is a good news story. All right. Look, I usually don't give any credit to people who are within city government because a lot of them are just Democrats. Democrats, Republicans, they're all the same to me. But I have to give some credit where credit is due to the City Council of Orange County, the city leaders, as well as Mayor Jerry Demings. I'm going to give him the credit. All right. Good job. Good job on this one. All right. You got me on this one. So,
hundreds of thousands of students will get free school lunch this upcoming school year. Orange County says every student will be eligible for free breakfast and lunch. Fox 35's Valerie Boy is joining us live tonight.
And Val, you spoke with a lot of excited families this evening.
Yeah, that's right. You know, both parents and students are just thrilled about free meals in school, especially lunch.
So that's what happened. This is good news, man. Kids in Orange County, Florida are all across the board going to get free lunch and breakfast countywide. So Orange County Public Schools, regardless of your income, it does not matter. If you have a kid and they're going to school from pre-K all the way to 12th grade, regardless of your income, they get free lunch and they get free breakfast. Good news, right? I have no complaints about this. I have no qualms about this. In fact, I am very happy. And so, as a kid growing up, I wish this program existed. This program just came into effect in July of this year. And so, Florida, even though it is a red state, Central Florida, particularly Orange County, is kind of like the blue county out of the rest of Florida. So goes Orange County, so goes Flagler, Volusia, Miami-Dade, Lake, you know what I'm saying? Osceola. So goes Orange County, goes other counties, because one of the major cities is Orlando. So you have Orlando, Daytona, Tampa, Jacksonville, Miami, right? And Tallahassee. So those are pretty much the major cities of Florida. Well, Orlando, where I live, is in Orange County. And so this is for Orange County schools as well as all the schools in Orlando as well. So if you have a kid, you get, look, I wish that they had this. But the thing is, I had breakfast growing up regardless because we were low income growing up. We were low income from the time I got into kindergarten at Orange Center Elementary till the time I graduated at Career Academy High School. I had free lunch because we just couldn't afford to have reduced or just pay for lunch, right? And so this is going to help out so many kids who are kind of in the in-between, where your parents make too much to afford free or reduced lunch, but they don't make enough to actually really send you with money to school to actually pay for that lunch. There's a lot of parents that can't do that. And then on top of it, there's a lot of parents who they may not make enough to send their kid with money, and so their kids don't have food to eat. And so what do? They can't learn. They go to home, they go home hungry. This also helps out parents because if you don't have all that money to spend on food, well, then at least your kid gets at least 2 meals in the day. They get breakfast and they get lunch. So only thing you have to worry about is dinner and maybe a snack. That's it. So this saves parents money on food too. Which is why I get to the point where I'm like, why in the world don't we just have food as a human right? We can do it for kids. We can do it for adults. But I can't say that because that's socialist. I'm going to say it anyway. I don't care. Basic food for all. But yeah, this is an amazing thing that's going on. Let me go to the article here just to go over the finer points. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Okay. Let me stop my singing before I start making everybody's ears bleed. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to make your ears bleed. All right, so it says all students at Orange County Public Schools to get free meals starting this year. This was published on July 24th. Can't believe this slipped my mind. This slipped my sights. But I am happy about this. Says Orange County Public Schools announced Monday that they will offer free meals to students in the 23-24 school year. This marks the first school year Orange County Public Schools is implementing the new meal provision. This lunch is being offered through the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Community Eligibility Provision Program, or CEP. Quote, we believe every student deserves access to healthy and nutritious meals regardless of socioeconomic status, the district said on its website, adding that it will implement community eligibility provision for all students. This applies to all students at all existing OCPS schools for all school meals, including breakfast and lunch. Students will have the opportunity to choose 3 to 5 menu items that fall into the main food groups: protein, grain, vegetable, fruit, and milk. If 3 to 5 items aren't selected, the student will be charged in an a la carte price. So I think that they shouldn't be charged at all, but I'll take what I can get. Says Melanie Sato says she likes making homemade lunch for her daughter, but sees how the program will benefit others. So you can opt out by just having your kid not get the lunch, right? Which is fine, because you have some parents out there that are, they may have dietary requirements. I'm not going to say restrictions, but requirements based on religion, based on health, things like that, right? So they may not want to allow their kid, so they do that for their kid, right? So of course, that is something that a lot of parents, may opt out of, especially if they can afford it. That's fine. But the point is, the food is available for all kids, so they will never be hungry at school. which I am absolutely thrilled about. So, yes. And things like this can also probably be put on a ballot initiative as well, in order to help our kids so that they won't go hungry at school. And I think this is also deeply important because learning needs to happen for our kids to be able to retain the information and learn and grow, but you can't do that if you're hungry. So now, just to let you guys know, this was a great story. And, when things like this come up, just please do not fret. Do not allow stories like this to be the only good stories that we see. Let's continue to fight to make new happy stories like this come up, and yeah, so I'm just really proud that this happened in my county of all counties. So thank you so very much. Let me go to the chat really quick. Thank you so much to Holistic Radical for the super chat. Holistic Radical says, I was just going to say, listen to Jesse Jett's Welfare, and then you mentioned it. Yeah, Jesse Jett does amazing songs, class conscious songs as well. If you guys have not, then just look them up on Any News Network. Shout out to them. Jesse Jett does amazing music as well. That really touches your heart. So I highly recommend you guys go there as well. Creative Experiment says, we already subsidize all of our food. It should be free already. I agree. Yeah. I do. All right. Okay, so now as far as finishing up, one of the things that I actually talked about in regards to ballot initiatives as well, before I go, there is a petition going out right now, and I talked about this on RBN, but I want to bring this up here too because this is also deeply important. Is this petition that is going around in Florida? If you guys know any Floridians, then also spread this to them as well. This is a website called Floridians Protecting Freedom. And this is to put abortion rights on the ballot as a ballot initiative here in Florida. In fact, this is a great point. It says the overwhelming majority of Floridians think we should all have the freedom to make our own personal healthcare decisions without interference from politicians. Despite that, politicians have denied Floridians the right to control their own bodies and lives, approving 6-week abortion ban. It bans abortion before many people even realize they are pregnant and leaves little time to get care under Florida's 2-trip requirement. Help put these decisions back in the hands of Florida families and their doctors, not politicians. Tallahassee should not be telling us what to do with our bodies. It should be us telling Tallahassee what we want to do with ours. And so this is what we want. And so this is a great petition to have people who are from Florida sign. The thing is that you have to print it out and send it in. So if you guys know of any groups of people that are for the rights of people to, have abortion as a healthcare right in Florida, then, send this link to them. They can print it out, sign it, send it in through, through the mail so that we can have enough names on the petition to get this as a ballot initiative. And if this gets as a ballot initiative, then in November of 2024, we can vote on it and actually make abortion as healthcare in the state of Florida without having to rely on politicians, because I'd rather go around politicians than depend on them. So this is, you know, this is something that I am going to continuously bring up from time to time, if you guys would like to. So I appreciate, and I put the link in the chat. Let me make sure I put it in the link in the Rockfin chat as well before I finish up for the stream as well. All right, there you go. Okay, so thank you so very much for listening for that. This is something that we talked about at the RBN Orlando chapter. I think this is also really important. So let's continue to make waves for the people in our community as well. So if you guys have not, please make sure to like the stream as well. And if you guys have not already, of course, remember that we are planning for a action on the 23rd of September. And so we will be going to our neighbors, giving out care packages to all the houseless people in the city of Orlando. And if you guys would like to, you guys can go and donate via Cash App. You guys can go $ Orlando RB, B as in boy, N as in Nancy. If you guys would like to, we are trying to get it done by September 4th so that we can order all the supplies and then make the care packages and get it out to the needy people in the city of Orlando. This is what we're doing as our first action as well. And thank you so very much to anybody who has donated already. I need to check and see. And if you already have donated, I'm going to be shouting people out who have donated so far in Twitter. So if you guys have done so already, thank you very much. I have, let me make sure that let me see. If in case anybody's done it already, let me see. Orlando RBN. Oh, wait. Nope, it's not what I want. Choose profile. Oh. Okay. So oh my God. No. Okay. Anyway, I have to sign into it. But thank you so very much to everybody. What was I going to say? I should have did that earlier. My bad, guys. Sorry. Okay. All right. So thank you so very much to everybody. Let me see. Never mind. I'll get back to that later. But yes, though, thank you so very much. Also, if you guys have not already, then please make sure to, if you guys have not subscribed to my Patreon, if you guys would like to, thank you so much for the support on patrons on Patreon and Coffee, as well as members. And in addition to, and furthermore, if you guys would like to, I also have different ways that you guys can support me on the channel as well down there. Also, I'll be doing the reading for Did I just rip that? Also, y'all, I've been doing the reading for the Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Von Price later this week. So I'll be getting into that. I kind of slipped a little bit, so I got to get back to that. And then Assata Shakur's autobiography, I'll be getting into that as well. Gosh, I'm getting more and more books. I'm going to end up having a full library by the end of this year. But anyways, I'm reading, so that's good. Reading's fundamental, people. Do it. Also, what was I was forgetting something. I just don't know. Anywho, so, by the way, also, and subscribe to Right Brain Studios because they do amazing work as well. You guys can go to rightbrainstudios.tv. It's not .com, it's .tv. Okay. So, anywho, wait, I saw something from somebody earlier. Let's see. Joey Peltier says, dang, got here at the end of the show. Was kind of absorbed in a beading project that I am working on. Make the beads, baby. Make the beads. Okay. So thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. I have to head over to RBN because, well, I'm late, but I got to put my jacket on and get on to RBN. But thank you so much to everybody. Look, like I always tell you, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Smoke them if you got them, drink them if you got them. If you ain't got them, then watch something funny or watch something inspirational on Right Brain TV because joy is revolutionary. And on top of it, please make sure to fight for your fellow people, especially fellow tenants. That's very important. And also, if you guys have not, do a little something for your community, even if it's for your neighbor across the hall. It doesn't matter as long as you're doing something to increase class consciousness and worker solidarity, because that's important. All right. And forehead kisses. I love all of you for watching. Thank you so very much. And also, cheers for the kids because they get free lunch. Yes. Hip, hip, hooray!